Javron Supercub Build. Just putting on, not really decals, but actually we like to actually paint them. Just gonna kind of touch base on a little thing we started doing. This design was at the local print shop that cuts the vinyl. They already had it in the computer, and they can do this design, as you well know, in vinyl, where you would lay either have all of this laid up with a backing on it, put it on all at once, or lay one color up and then try to line another up and lay the other color and lay the other color. But what we did, since we were going to paint it, they just took a solid sheet of vinyl and run it through their printer and just kind of roughly put the colors that we were going to have, and then run it through the cutter, and they cut each of the color, but like you would normally see them cut out like letters or end numbers, and then they would pick all the part away and then put a backing on it. You'd be sticking the number on your plane or letters. They left everything in place. So they took a sheet, they printed the design on it, and then they run it through the machine and cut it where they just etch it with the knife. And then I stick the whole thing on. And if I'm gonna paint this blue color first, I pick the blue color out. Now everything else will be masked off. I pick out just the blue colors and I paint them. And then when that's dry, I take and cover that blue, and I cover it right up to the edge of that next one. And then I peel the black out, I paint the black, and then I tape it off right up to the edge, and then pull the last color out and paint it. Now where these are already cut, if I'm gonna paint this blue, I need to take a piece of trim tape and cover this razor cut edge, because paint could go down in that. So it's just an easy way of not having to put the whole stencil up here of just this and paint it, and then trying to line another stencil up. And then, so they just print it, cut it, but don't pick it. And then we and they print it on top so we know where it's at. So we just pull each color and paint them as we go. That's just so we have stuff painted on and not any vinyl on the airplane. And as you've seen in the very first part of this, what was happening when I was pulling that line. A lot of people like to pull lines while the paint is wet, and that is great. It makes the line lay down and not be rough on the edge. But sometimes when you have a very complex setup, you just can't get around and get it all pulled off in a sufficient time that the paint will start catalyzing and start stringing. So at that point, you want to go ahead and let it fully dry and pull your tapes 180 degrees from where you're going. But as you've seen in that first little part, what it was doing, it was trying to tear. Some hard paints does not have that problem, but AirTech and a lot of other systems paints that's made to be flexible, that's just the characteristic of it. Now I can fix that problem where it pulled up, but I wanted to show what I normally do when that happens, when you do start getting the little tears. First, when you lay a paint line, you want to really scuff it before you paint it. And I've talked about that before, and you want to really scuff right up to the line where you're going to paint. But when I have that happen to me, and I just have no other way out, I get a good X-Acto knife or something with a good little edge, and just take your time, and I'll get right at the edge of where that paint is, and you'll get to a point that you can hold up against. This black is going to come off, and this is the part that's been painted. You can get your blade right up against that edge, and once you start, now you're not cutting, just barely scoring the top of it, but you'll get to where you'll go, and then you'll hold a little pressure that way to hold right up against that line. And I'll just glide and just score that top is all I'll do. I'm just putting very light pressure and just scoring that top. And when you do that, when you peel it off, then it'll be clean, because what you're doing is this is in a situation, I was making sure that I was having good coverage, and you just end up putting an extra layer or two more and your paint bridges over. Normal blue line tape, we don't have a problem with that, but this, as you know, was a mask that was basically like decal type material that we cut out all these colors, and it doesn't act just like the blue line, and it wasn't tearing it away good. So I'll probably just have to razor cut these clean so that they'll pull. But if you start pulling a line with any system out there, any kind of paint, you start pulling a line after it's dry and it's still trying to make little tears and stuff, just stop, take your time, and just score that little edge. And I'm finished. I got quite a bit of little cleanup work to do. I'll probably do one color sand on it to get a little blending to do. I got one spot where I missed right here. I'll go back and do a color in on that and clear over that to make it blend. But that's it for the painted on decal for the tail.